Mic check. Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the current affairs and gazette for today, that is 28th of January 2022. Before we begin that discussion, let me acknowledge the people who are present here online. Welcome to all the people who are participating in discussion. Hi Amlan, Hima, good evening. Babani, welcome. Netra, Kriti, Sam, good evening to all of you. Pooja, good evening to you as well. And Ashish, welcome, good evening. Vakram, good evening. Other people joining, welcome to all of you. People participating in conversations and viewing offline, good evening to all of you. I really appreciate the kind of engagement you people are into here in the questions that I pose to you. And a special mention to some of you whose writing I have started to note has definitely improved and it has become more versatile, and in short frame of time you are presenting very good pointers to me. And who are you? You are Hima, you are Kriti, you are Netra, you are Bhabani, you are Amlan as well. So many of you, and we did have Ashish. Yes, absolutely. I don't know where Asim is gone for a couple of days, but other people, please join in. And even people viewing offline, I pose a question every day. So the question for today was 5 advantages, keywords or examples only of having an inclusive infrastructure regime for the whole world, and give 3 examples of successes and 3 examples of failure. And you people have presented amazing gems. This is what is called as writing gems and collection of gems. You put these kind of opinions and you will see what beautiful marks you can achieve in the examinations, right? So we will discuss this in the featured news because the featured news is on this topic itself, and we'll begin with the current affairs discussion. Hima says, sir, can we say failure as one Gwadar port project, debt trap of China like Hambantota, African sites? All right, good one. Yeah, Hambantota definitely can be one because of these inefficiencies, China has been able to acquire land in Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka, that is the reason that Sri Lanka also gave projects to India and Japan alongside, right? So that is a cause of concern. But Gwadar, let's see if it is failure or not. So let's proceed with the conversation. We will discuss this in detail in the feature news for today, that is on EU's global gateway, right? Comparison between all of them, all the models for infrastructure and development, integrated development, right? So what's there in your UPSC daily current affairs guide? First one is the corruption perception index. We will understand not only this, but I will also share with you the democracy index, right? So both of them together. Inheritance of fathers. So this is a judgment by Supreme Court on daughters getting inheritance rights. We will understand this as well. And the third one is conditional market authorization for COVID drugs. What is it about? The formulation of drugs, everything in details. This day in history dedicated to the birthday of Lala Ji, Punjab Kesari. Feature news on EU's global gateway immediately after this video. Interesting discussion on international relations, international trade, and the strategies for global development. Image of the day on something like a pulsating star, a pulsar that we have spotted in the Milky Way. Something very peculiar about it. What is that? We will understand. Terms and concepts. The first one is one report by SBI, and it speaks of normalizing the reverse repo rate. What is that? The second one is small satellite launcher. The third one is digital rights and principles by EU, and the fourth one is Sathyamangalam Tiger Reserve, news for a particular cause. 3 editorials. First one on the cadre principles and what are the issues, how can it be resolved. The second one on informality of the country, and the third one on higher education. Today's case study is on a very healthy way of having kitchen gardening. All right, so let's begin this conversation. The first one is on corruption perception index. So before we get into the depth of this article, let me share with you what this index is about. First of all, this index is released by Transparency International, and it has been releasing it for quite a while, an autonomous organization, private organization, and this has ranked corruption perception in India, and it says that India ranks at 85th position out of 180 countries, right? And mind you, this is not the corruption index, this is corruption perception index. How it may look like perception, because we cannot actually calculate the corruption levels anywhere. Perception is an important way to put it in words. Perception. So example, when the index is formed, people are asked to rate the countries over this, right? So one example is, what is the tendency for a person to give bribe, right? What are the tendencies of persons to use public means to have private gains, right? Another definition for corruption, right? Red tapeism, nepotism, favoritism. What is the tendency in a country like that, right? Are there conflict of interest? If at all there are there, is there a law which ensures that the conflict of interest is declared, or the finances of the public officer are they mandated to disclose them or not? Because if they are mandated to disclose, that means the perception of corruption will be less in that particular country, right? So do we have legal protection for whistleblowers? These are the criteria which determine if a country is progressing towards corruption or not, right? So bribery is one form of corruption, right? So this report talks about backsliding of democracies. Backsliding, this again talks about backsliding. A keyword here, you should note this, right? And if somebody asks you to prove what is the level of corruption or how can we perceive corruption, so these are the examples. This has been mentioned in your current affairs gazette as well, right? So we will get back to that and I will share with you, right? India, 85th rank. Has it improved considerably? No, not much. Just a rank of 86th, and we have just done by one rank, one better with time. And what is sad to know is that countries around the world, since the year 2012, considering a complete decade, many of the countries have not performed well on this indicator. In fact, around 86% of the countries have retained their position. See, there are two things. One is the rating of the country, and the second one is the index in which we have ranking, right? Now, though the ranking may have improved or may have remained stagnated for a country like India, but the rating has remained same. That means many of the countries' perception of corruption there is still high, right? 70%, 80% of the countries are said to have made little progress or no progress. In fact, around 25 countries, they backslid in the corruption perception index. It has not become better in the last 10 years. Denmark, Finland and New Zealand equating equal numbers, and they have risen, right? So when you look at a country like India, this is the level of perception of corruption in India, right? So 10 years back, the situation was such that we were rated 36 points and now we have risen to 40 points. This is the only difference. Last year we had 86th rank, now we have dropped to 85th. Only one rank difference, and yes, 10 years, 94 to 85th, this is where we have come, right? Although rank has decreased 10 or 12 number, but the scores is almost same. We have not improved much, and so are the other countries, right? So this is it. And if you look at South Asia, India has done the best, right? Pakistan is considered now as the corruption king in South Asia. Notwithstanding that, this is not a matter of appreciation, because we have still lagged behind at 86th, 85th position around the whole world, right? So increasing measures like automation, like e-governance, these are the ones which are going to help. Laws, yes, going to help, right? Activation of people, ethics, these are the things that we have to use in contemporary time to ensure that corruption doesn't happen. When you look at East Asia itself, 70% of the East Asian countries, complete Asian countries, they are not faring well as far as corruption is considered, right? Which are the ones which are faring well? We have Singapore, right? We have Japan, South Korea. A few of them are hamari laaj bacha rahe hain, right? But most of them, no. And one country, Sri Lanka, it has actually gone back. It has backtraced. It has so corruption perception has increased in Sri Lanka in the last 10 years, right? So apart from that, you see, India has improved. India has improved. Where do we have India? Yes, 36 to 40. In fact, China has also improved from 39 to 45. So not doing exceedingly well because of large population. And what is the factor that calls them that they are not doing well? See, a couple of reasons is COVID crisis. COVID crisis and stronger hold of government over media, over free movement of public, free speeches. During these times, we have also seen the emergence of cryptocurrencies, right? Emergence of social media in the last 10 years. and government trying to put a curb on them, right? Especially the countries with population, emerging countries like India, Pakistan, China, Bangladesh. So when you see India, Pakistan, China, Bangladesh, they are among the top 10 countries in the list of the 10 countries with maximum population in the world, and these are developing in nature. Well, imagine how are they trying to manage the issues through curbs, right? So backsliding of democracy. The index itself says that, and mind you, it is not just that developing countries are not faring better, even the developed countries rank has backslided. So have a look at this sentence. Among the larger economies, only Italy, China, Austria and UK, Argentina have improved. And backsliding in advanced economies like Australia, over 10 points, Canada, USA, it has happened in the past 10 years, right? So the scores have dipped for even better democracies like Australia, Canada and USA in the last 10 years, right? Now this is where I would like to relate to this, to what we studied, that is corruption perception index to the freedom index, right? So more the free the nation is, the corruption perception is less in a country like that. There are correlations, and also better is the governance, right? So this index was not released right now. The earlier index was released very, very lately. This index we have discussed previously. Let me share quickly with you what is this freedom index about. This is released by Freedom House, an NGO based in USA, and it rates country as free, partly free or not free. Free, partly free or not free. These are the three standards in which it rates the countries. The scores are between 1 and 7, and depending on the score that the country has got, they will be rated as free, partly free or not free, right? So least score is best score, maximum score is the worst score. All right, so this is one thing. They started in 1972, and the first time they reported the whole world, see, this is the image. You will be able to see the countries in green are free. 1972, countries in green are free, countries in yellow are partly free, and countries in purple are not free. So you see, the almost complete of North America is free according to them. Western Europe is free according to them, and then parts of South America are free, western part, and eastern part, a country like Brazil, Argentina, they are not free. Paraguay, Bolivia and Uruguay. Africa largely is not free. Russia, China, Mongolia, Middle East are not free. India was considered as free earlier, but when you see the latest report, they call India as a partly free country, and South of America, it has converted to free. But when you look at the larger index here, right, Western Europe completely free, this is what they say, and there are places in South Asia not free, right? And similar is the stance with many of the Southeast Asian countries. You see, Malaysia and Indonesia, they say partly free. Russia, again, not free at all. China, not free. So this is the status of this particular report, and this is largely about the governance and civil liberties. These are the two things that are looked at. So political rights, this is one thing that is looked at, and civil liberties. These are the keywords for you: political rights and civil liberties. You write an answer on polity, and these will form an important component to them, right? So they are looked at, and World Bank data from interviews or interviews with important persons, they are taken, and through that they are rated. Questions are put and they are rated. Countries are rated on these data. Electoral process, right? Political pluralism, participation and functioning of government. These are four broad parameters in political rights. In civil liberties, they are freedom of expression, association rights, rule of law, personal autonomy and individual rights, right? So if you remember words like this, keywords like this, they will form the components of your answer. These are the keywords. Instead of explaining the whole argument, just putting a word like electoral process, pluralism, right? Political participation, these are the keywords to use. So take a screenshot or write them down. All right. So this is what this first report, first snapshot is about. All right. Included some extra data for you. Now that was the freedom index. This is the corruption perception index. Both are related somehow, right? So this is what we have explained, and this part, this is the extreme right part. If you remember this, it will help you in solving ethics questions and questions related to polity straight away, right? So if I ask you, what is that makes a country more corrupt or more efficient or inefficient in governance? These are the answers: bribery, diversion of public funds, misusing public office for private gains, excessive red tapeism, right? Ability of government to not being able to contain corruption in public sector units, nepotism, favoritism, right? If there are enough laws, if there are laws to ensure that the whistleblower is protected or not, or laws to ensure that declaration of the finances of the public functionary or conflict of interest, those laws exist or not, right? States captured by narrow interest, right? So these are the things. Crony capitalism. So these are the pointers. If you know in your mind, it will take 30 seconds for it to get retrieved in your mind, and next 5-6 minutes you will be answering the question. So this is the utility of preparing keywords, right? All right. So this is what we have explained here. Despite of presence of laws, we have the corruption perception increasing around the whole world. All right. Second snapshot is on inheritance of fathers' self-acquired inherited properties by daughters. Now this is a case for equality of rights for females around the whole country, and we discussed one update from the Supreme Court judgment. It was pointed out that the females in India do not have equal rights as far as the inheritance rights are considered, right? So we discussed this in the month of December. I would like to discuss that quickly, and then what has been now said by Supreme Court. See, whenever a person, if this is a male and he's married a lady, right? She comes from two families, father and mother, and this gentleman also comes from two families, father and mother, right? Now, whenever they are married to each other, and when the person, the male, they die without an heir, without a son or a daughter to own the inherited property, right? They die, and who does the property actually go to? And the property in many cases, right, it goes to the brothers, sisters, or the predecessors of this particular person, right? So many of the property rights, they are against the female side of the family, right? So not only that, for example, if the female has got some property in inheritance, or she has created some wealth for herself, right, and they die without a written will or a heir, they die without them, who does this property go to? Whatever property she acquired from her parents, it will go back to her parents, inherited from her parents, it will go back. But whatever she has created or whatever she got along with her male counterpart, this property will go to husband's parents. In fact, if some property has to go back to her parents as well, it will go to father's parents only, not mother's parents. The laws are very clear here. Earlier, they were very clear that it would actually favor the male members or father's property. Right now, the Supreme Court has come up with a judgment talking about the property before 2004. The females will have some specific rights over properties, right? Earlier, this provision was not there. Now it has been made very clear. Now what happens is that in a family which is undivided, the family is undivided, and there are suppose two brothers or three brothers to this family, right? And they have got children, right? And one of them, the fourth person, has got only one child, girl child, and this person dies without a will. They also die without another successor, so they only have one daughter. Now, till now, the property has been not given to her because the rights of succession were not treated at par, right? Right to succession to her property, to this property, were not treated at par. In fact, the property would get distributed among the sons of the other members, other brothers, right? This is what would happen. now the daughter will also receive, she will get preference over receiving the assets of her father. So this is the present judgment, right? There are technical words given to this. For example, the word given to brothers owning the property is called as co-parency, undivided property, co-parency, and the heirs and the people who will receive this property later after their death are co-parceners, right? And the people whose property would be divided would be co-parents, right? So Supreme Court has now given certain level of equality. Whatever I mentioned previously, those equality levels still do not exist, right? So therefore, women in the country are not treated equally or at par with male counterparts as far as inheritance rights are considered, right? So this is what has been explained here. But with this judgment, they will get more rights to the property even before the year 2004, right? Post 2004, they did have this property, but then this would also be existent to them before 2004 right now. All right. So there was another term which mentioned that they would get the right to this property ahead of the other sons, right? So that clearly mentions, I'll get back with the two words there. All right. So this is where we speak of some of the anomalies in which the properties would go to the father and not the mother's side. All right. The third one is, all right. Let me see, there are questions here. Yes, Somak, Hindu Succession Act. Ashish says, sir, it is said dowry was introduced in our society to get over these clumsiness. Property for males and dowry for females. Was this provision good or inheritance rights as evil as dowry? Dowry was introduced in our society to get over these. Please look at the question, other people. To get over these clumsiness, all right. Property for male and dowry for female, all right. Was this provision good? See, this is not the modern world stand. What Ashish says is that property would be given to the male heirs and dowry would be given to the female children. So this is how property would get divided, and this was introduced so that everybody could get decent amount of parents' wealth, right? I understand the social context of old times. I do understand those times. These were the laws of those times, medieval and ancient times. And Ashish very rightly pointed out at the question, but the modern laws do not say this. Modern laws say that the female child will get equal property as compared to the male counterpart. But many of the laws do not favor that. This is what is the anomaly. We say it is equal, but it is not equal. We spoke of the procurement of rice, no? MSP. It is not happening throughout the country. It is very clear. Similarly, we say that the rights are equal, but yet marital rape is not available, right? We say the rights are equal, but then if you read about conjugal rights, right? So you will find that there is a clear discrimination against the females. Similarly, property, there is a clear discrimination. So Supreme Court came up with a judgment, and it very clearly instructed that whenever there is a marriage going to happen, they will be, all right, if you want to gift something, please do gift to your daughter-in-law or son-in-law, please do that. But this will be on a written piece of paper. Both the sides will, nobody will demand anything, but people will write what they are gifting to the other person, right? So whether the demand has been made in verbal context, that is fine, but it cannot be written. And they will be exchanging, both the people will be exchanging what they want to give to the other side. For example, the male side does give jewelry to the females, no? Right? And some clothes or something, whatever is the tradition of their sides. Similarly, female side also wants to give something to the male or present something to the bride and groom both. They will present in the form of paper, right? Both the sides have and can do this voluntarily, no coercion. This is what Supreme Court has said. And if this has not existed, this did not happen, and some verbal demands were made and this was recorded, this will come under atrocities. So Dowry Prevention Act, right? All those things will start to take place. Now, having said that both the side exchanged a list and they gave some gifts to each other, It doesn't mean that the female has been evicted out of the family and her share of money has been given to her already. No, she will have equal say in the property as the other children will have, right? All right. Now this also has a question. There are 2-3 kinds of property which exist with the family. One property is the parental property or ancestral property, and the other property is the property which has been earned by the parents. So parental or ancestral property has to be distributed equally amongst all the heirs. But in parental property, they can choose to give it to some particular person. They can choose to donate. They can choose to ensure that nobody gets this property, whatever they want to do. But ancestral property, it has to be divided amongst the all the children equally, right? And this is where there are agreements. So daughters say, they sign an agreement saying, okay, all right, we will not demand for a property in the times to come. So this is how it is legally. All right. I don't think one evil can compensate the other inequality. They both are wrong and laws need. Yes, absolutely. We all agree. Ashish just had a question. All right. Snapshot Thursday is on conditional market authorization. Now, the two COVID drugs that we have in India, the most popular ones, Covaxin and Covishield, they have been given the conditional market authorization. To understand what this is, we have to gain the context of what happened with these medications to begin with, right? So they are in news also because of adverse events following immunization. This is not happening in Covishield, in Covaxin, AEFI, right? Are you noticing when you had the first vaccination or second vaccination, did you vomit blood? No. Were you ill for 15 days, or was it something obnoxious or very different from usual? No. So then conditional authorization would be given to these medications, right? So to understand that, let's quickly look at what happens during the vaccine creation. We all have studied this, but a quick revision for people who have studied, and first information for the people who haven't. I have picked up all this from United States FDA or European Medicinal Agency. So very much authentic here. Now, whenever a virus is detected, right, people want to create medication or vaccination for the same, right? So there are lab-based studies which start to happen with an aim to ensure that it is going to be healthy for human beings. So first is the lab-based study. This is the place where there are two kinds of studies that happen: in vitro experiments and in vivo experiments. So in vitro means glass test tube. So one experiment to be done in test tubes. After it is successful, after we realize that yes, these chemicals or these antibodies are working well against an antigen, then they also start to test on other organisms. Vivo means organisms. Vivo, in vivo, and these organisms are not human beings, other animals, right? So these are the lab level testings, and these are called as non-clinical testings. After that comes clinical testing. In clinical testing, there are 3 phases: phase 1, 2, 3. The first one is about the drug itself, right? If the drug is safe or not. This is the first level. If I've injected it to around 100 people, this is carried out in very few number of people, say 100 people. Is the drug safe at all or not? So it is injected in a very small proportion to know the safety level of the drug. If it is safe, the second level of testing will happen with clinical trials 2, where the effectiveness of the drug will be checked. In this, more drug will be injected, proportionality of injection, the dosage, the frequency of administering of the drug, that will be tweaked and changed to understand how effective is the drug. The person is not dying in the clinical trial 1, this is what we have understood. In clinical trial 2, we will see if the dose is actually working on the person or not. This is around 500 people in which they administer this. And in clinical trial 3, thousands of people, say maximum 10,000 people. I'm telling you the actual numbers here. That the European medical agency has written. 10,000 people, they will try this. This is clinical trial 3, right? And after all these levels are successful, then is when the idea to commercially manufacture it, that begins, right? So in the trial levels, that trial is not only for understanding on how effective it is on human. The trial is also to understand if the vaccination is scalable. Can it be created at industry level? Is it cheap, or is it economical, or is it very expensive to manufacture? This is what is done at the experiment level, and after it is ready, after it is supplyable and scalable, this is where there is there is an industrial process in which the whole industry is set up for this. Commercial manufacturing has not started, but industry is already set up during the clinical phase trials, right? And then there are other approvals which are required from the authorities, right? So those authorities, after they give approval, then we scale up the production. Manufacturing at professional levels, at commercial levels, it starts to happen. And after that, the monitoring of medication will still happen. Monitoring of medication, its after effects will still happen, and it has to be submitted every few days, say 15 days, right? To understand if there are side effects of this medication or not. This is especially happening in case of COVID, because COVID was instituted at a very, very early stage because of the emergency use authorization, EAU, emergency use, EUA, use authorization, right? So if I show you, if I show you the progress of formation of vaccination, right? So first level at pharmaceutical quality level, non-clinical research, in vivo, in vitro level of studies, and after that phase 1, 2 and 3, one after the other. After first one gets completed, then phase 2 and then phase 3. This is how it would be done, right? So it would take decent time, and then clinical trials after getting over, large scale production, studies and authorization. And after studies are done, after this phase 3, when the drug can be given to all other people, and after large scale manufacturing, studies are done, then reports are written on how the virus behaved, how the medicines they actually worked, and this will be still under observation, right? Why I am saying this is because COVID vaccination had an accelerated process for the same thing. See, phase 1 was only getting carried out when phase 2 also started in the same time, and so did phase 3. And see, scientific evaluation, it started in the beginning only, phase 2 itself, right? And then large scale manufacturing, only immediately as the phase 1 ended, they understood that yes, probably we can give it to people. Large scale manufacturing, commercial viability, right? Those things started to happen. So since the whole process was accelerated for the COVID vaccines, this is the reason that more and very scrutiny based understanding whether they have side effects or not, this needs to be done. It is found that after almost 1 year of delivering these doses, adverse events following immunization are very, very few. And this is the reason that they said, fine, let us give them a certification called as emergency certification called as the one that I just mentioned, right? Yes, that's the title name, right? So this is the reason that this happened. And usually the basis of emergency use authorization is that the vaccine should have benefits for the people. The benefits should outweigh the side effects, right? And then fine, we will start the emergency use authorization, right? So this is how COVID vaccines were authorized, right? But in background, the industries, the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry have to keep submitting data to FDA, to European medical agencies, to Indian drug authorities, drug approver, so that we understand if there are side effects or not, right? So you see, collect, manage and analyze, review, assess, decide and act, communicate, and then monitor the progress, and then if it is an adverse report, the vaccines will be immediately stopped. This is the complete procedure, right? So this is how it was studied, and at the end we understood that we can give them more relaxations, all right? So emergency use authorization was given, usually it is given after full approval, 4th degree study, emergency use authorization is given or authorization is given. But here it was given beforehand because of the emergency for COVID treatment, right? So this is the first thing that I wanted to mention. The second one is that the drug should meet high quality of safety, effectiveness and manufacturing quality. This is done, and only then conditional market authorization is given. Conditional market authorization. So what happens here? In conditional market authorization, people, can you buy the drugs over the counter? So it is called as OTC, over the counter drugs. No, we cannot buy it. It is for medical fraternity. Medical industry can make bigger supplies, right? They can ask for demand for supplies. So this is what they can do. Who is it going to benefit then? It is going to largely benefit those people who are submitting the data for people, right? So is it causing side effects or not? Earlier, every 15 day, the industry, medical industry would have to submit this data. But now they have to submit this data once in 6 months. This means that the vaccination is largely stable. It is largely effective on human beings. So this is conditional market authorization. In this, it will not affect us largely, but yes, when there is a full market authorization, then people also can purchase these kind of medications, right? So this is the clarity over this. All right. One more thing about conditional market access is that it is not available for people, for industry to just purchase and then give people booster vaccinations. No, you can't just purchase and start giving booster. Booster is only for people with specific needs, or people who are elder, or people in frontline treatment right now. And the conditional market authorization also will be available only for those industry people, those hospitals which the government has authorized, limited number, right? So only one benefit right now, they don't have to submit the data every now and then in 6 months. So this is the update from here, and this is how we understand the complete conditional vaccine access for market authorization. All right, this is what has been explained here. All right, so we understood not only that, we also studied how the complete process of vaccination is there, right? And then is it similar to US, UK? Yes, it is a very similar thing as compared to what is done in US and UK. All right. Sir, what we require from it? Pooja, I didn't get your question. Please put up the whole question again, please. All right. This day in history dedicated to Lala Lajpat Rai, Punjab Kesari, right? And one of the persons who favored Arya Samaj, right? Dayanand Anglo-Vedic schools at various places. What is popular about him is that during the Simon Commission revolt, Simon Go Back, that was the slogan that people would cheer. In the year 1928, there was a lathi charge, and he was hit on head because of this, and because of this he later passed away. And this resulted in Bhagat Singh trying to take vengeance for the person who ensured that this lathi charge was conducted. So idea being that he is a very important figure in history, and it was his birthday today. He passed away in the year 1928. One of the three, right? Lal, Bal, Pal, the three extremists in Congress. So this is why he's popular. If you would want to, you should definitely get back to understanding what Bhagat Singh did and why did he do so, who was to be killed, Saunders and other people associated, and what happened, what led to the capture or surrender of Bhagat Singh. What is this? One time Republic Day discount. All right. Oh, by the way, yes, I'm sure if you don't know, I must tell you, we are not only into UPSC, but SSC, banking, other PCS, so many states, right? Just for our awareness. Today's feature news is on Global Gateway, EU's Global Gateway. We will compare this with the model that Europe has, the model that USA has, and what India is trying to pursue. How are they all going to work for India? We will understand this also. All right, so interesting feature news for us. What is ahead of this is the image of the day. Yes, now you see this object. This is a very strange object, but because it is emitting light, it is emitting pulsating light every few minutes, around 18 minutes. It is emitting light, and exactly in this tenure, right? This fixed tenure is something that makes it very unique, right? Although pulsating stars do have this frequency, but this is quite extraordinary and abnormal. This is why it has been in newspaper today. And 18.18 minutes. What's about this for this star? This we don't know, but this is what research is going about. This could as well be the white dwarf neutron star, right? When they become extinct of energy, when there is no energy remaining, but they're still moving at a very fast pace. Some reactions keep happening at some time, some nuclear reactions, and they keep emitting radiations. So this is a part of Milky Way, and yet very, very far from us. We are able to see that there is some lighting happening. This is why in news. All right. So very, very strange things happening. In fact, these are natural things. We don't know how to understand them. The first term and concept for today is Ecowrap Report of SBI, right? So what is RBI doing right now is trying to increase the lending rates. What are we talking of? Reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate. Why so? See, the relaxations that have been given to the market by USA, by many countries like China, by European Union, by India, they have been quite decent. For the last 2 years, many countries have enjoyed relaxations because the government decreased the lending rates. Everybody could afford lending. But yes, repaying was another question. But people could afford lending so that it would bring back rigor in the economy, right? Now, US is looking at tapering US Federal is looking at tapering the kind of expansion of money it had. And this is one of the things that is leading to the surge in fact the lowering of the parameters in the economy, right? For example, if you see the stock prices going down, this is because people will start taking out the FIIs from India, right? Foreign portfolio investors will start taking out money because earlier there was a liberal economy and now US is tightening the monetary policy. What it will do is that it will increase the rates at which people can deposit money in the central bank or the banks only. Now, following USA, other countries also ought to do this because they also have to ensure that fiscal deficit, revenue deficit does not happen as much. India is also doing this, and increasing the reverse repo rate is one of those formulae, right? We increase the reverse repo rate and the repo rate. This will ensure that the Reserve Bank will have more money with it, or the banks will have more money with it, right? So this is what is called as reverse repo rate normalization. This is why in news, all right? So they also want to increase the reverse repo rate because the other market parameters have risen. Suppose, see, reverse repo rate is the rate at which the RBI asks for money from the banks. Now this has to be higher than the rate at which the money is asked. Now this is RBI, this is banks, right? This is the rate at which the money is asked by RBI from the banks. But this has to be higher than the rate at which the other entities hire from the banks. No, this has to be higher because this is a more credible agency. When these rates are touching 3.25% or 3.35%, this rate definitely needs to exceed, at which it can be stored with the Reserve Bank. So there is a speculation they will raise to 4%, right? Reverse repo. This is why in news, all right? So this is called as reverse repo rate normalization, okay? Small satellite launcher, why news? Small satellite launchers, new ISRO chief, and now they have declared that we will start having 15 to 20 small satellite launchers and launches every year, right? See, earlier we have had bigger satellite launch vehicles, PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, and then even bigger GSLVs, right? Launch vehicle, these are the rockets, and in these rockets would be placed many small satellites, small or big satellites, payload 1 ton, half a ton, 2 tons, 5 ton. So they would be ensuring that these satellites are launched to at their orbits, lower Earth orbits, middle Earth, or higher Earth orbits, right? But now what happens with them is that the cost would be high, the time taken would be high, the energy spent would be high, right? So earlier, if it would take 70 to 72 days to establish a complete PSLV launch, it would take only 70 hours now to launch a small satellite launcher. Earlier, the cost of the funding would be in hundreds of crores. Now it would take just 20-30 crore rupees, right? And so would the energy spent or human resources spent. Earlier, it would take say 60 and 80 people. Now it would take just 6 people around to launch a small satellite launcher. Why? Why are we launching this? See, for the orbits which are at higher levels, it is tough to launch, right? It will take more technicality, more specificity. But for lower Earth orbit, we can have smaller satellite launch vehicles also. Also, many countries want this to happen. India has got a very efficient system of satellite launch vehicles. Let us use it for commercial purposes. So many other countries will ask us to launch their satellites also through this. 15 to 20 per annum, we are trying to increase this, right? This will also be a far more efficient process for a country like India. See, it says very clearly, requires only 72 hours to deploy, and it will have 3 stages. So 3 stages, right? 3 stages of fuel, right? First stage, second stage, solid, liquid, and depending on how far it is going, cryogenic engine or not. All right. This is why in news. The third term in news is digital rights and principles. First time released by European Union, right? And they speak of digital rights and principles. First time released. Now all they want to say is that rights for people in physical space will be as same as rights for people in digital spaces. Rights for physical people in physical spaces will be as similar as rights for people in digital spaces also. Similar, right? Very much same. So when we talk of personal liberty or freedom, when we move around, there should be some freedom in online spaces as well. Some privacy in online spaces as well. We do not need special laws. We need just digital rights and principles to be conveyed that they do exist, right? So keeping people at the center, looking at their safety and security, their participation, freedom of choice, solidarity, inclusion, sustainability, all of it, right? So these are some principles. India has not framed a law on this, but yes, we also will follow European Union. If you remember, European Union was the first to introduce European countries the right to forget. Right to forget. Right? So when we see in physical spaces, we have the right to equality. Everybody will be treated at par. If they have defaulted, yes, they might go to jail and they might be under rigorous imprisonment or pay fine and come back, but they will be treated equally after that. This is what they implemented in digital space also. For example, if something has been put about some other person because of their malified intent, something they did wrong previously, and they have taken the punishment for it, there should be a right to be forgotten, right? All that content should be deleted online also. So this is a good example of digital rights and principles. European Union, and now slowly steadily all the other countries. Sathyamangalam tiger reserves, right? India has around how many tigers? How many tigers do we have? You did respond to us having around 30,000 elephants. I agree absolutely. What about the number of tigers? Meanwhile, Sathyamangalam tiger reserves, please put them down. How many number of tigers in India? India is one of the 13 countries with which are called as tiger range countries, and India has 70% of tiger population, global tiger population. And interestingly, thankfully, in Sathyamangalam Tiger Reserve, we have had doubling of the number of tigers, right? This is located in Tamil Nadu, and this is why it was awarded the TX2, T into 2 award, right, by an international consortium having organizations like, right, WWF, IUCN, right, CATS, all of them together have awarded them for this beautiful feat. All right, so you must know about the Tiger Summit of the tiger range countries, and also must know about St. Petersburg Summit. Are they same? Please tell me, are they same? Well, there would be a question any day. St. Petersburg Summit on what? And they'll have 4 options. 1, tiger. 2, nuclear disarmament. 3 would be road safety. 4, Afghanistan crisis. What is your answer? All right, moving ahead to editorials of the day. The first one is to finding a middle way to share the IAS officers, future you guys, IAS officers. So we have dealt with this question previously. What about the cadre rules? So cadre rules would state, should I get back to the background? Not required, because you people, almost all of you have been a part of this. Very quick. Central government is the one which demands for IAS officers from the states, from various states, right? And there has been a way in which there has to be multiple levels of sync, multiple levels of coherence if the IAS officer actually gets a deputation for central government. So in all India services, for example, IAS, IPS and Indian Forest Service, these are all India services, the states are allotted these officers by the central government, and the central government does not have any cadre of its own. So these states have to provide these officers, provided the officer has their own acceptance of this. States are ready to give away their officers for a deputed period of say 5 years. Center is ready to accept. These are the conditionalities. But in the last 10 years, we have seen that the proportion of IAS officers in the center has dropped from 20% to 10%, which is quite less. This is because of various factors. Now, this is a part of the editorial. It says it is because of stringent norms, because of IAS officers not willing to go. Why? Because in states, they get better facilities, they get better perks, better power. Why? Because the more decentralized they go, the more bureaucratic hurdles there are. In central secretariat, one will have to work from early in the morning till late in the night, till the time Prime Minister sits in the office. And when there is parliamentary session, you will have to be there all the time to be able to answer questions for the parliament. But if we are the DM, or if we are the DC of a particular district, or even if we are at different levels, for example, district development commissioners, or a director level in the state departments. Now these are far more easier postings for them, because there is more power, more decentralization, and better perks. So there are many reasons because of which the officers don't go. The editorial says that let us provide them better perks so that they are able to choose. The officers are able to choose that they can go to a central deputation as well, right? So there should be better attraction with better pay, better perks. This is one thing. And the state should also have full power to decide which officer has to be sent or not, because center all the time wants to, skim the cream, upar ka malai. They want to take the best of the IAS officers for deputation, right? Because they don't have their own cadre. This is what they do. So there has to be a middle way to work this out. All right. It has to be done voluntarily. It cannot be done by force, because India is a federation. Second is the challenge of informality in our country. See, informality is at multiple levels. Informality is not only about, what is informality? Informality is not only about the people who are not paying taxes. It is also about people who are deprived. So government wants to convert the informal sector into formal sector. You know why? Because taxation will be better. But then if we increase the rate of taxes, people avoid this. If we have more compliances, 10 form bharwao, let them fill 10 forms, let them pass through multiple level of checks, people will not want to become formal. Though they want to pay taxes, but then multiple level of checks multiple times a year, they will not want this, right? So what is required is to lower the tax, increase the tax base, lower the level of compliances, right? For example, the direct tax code only, and this will ensure that informality reduces. But what about people who are downtrodden? What about the deprived people? This is also an informal sector, right? So both of them have to be considered while looking at India's informal sector, right? So those sectors which are having low productivity, where survival is challenged, right? All right, so this is what this update is about. All right, economy will transform only when informal enterprises will get more capital investment and reskilling of workers. See, more skilling of workers and capital, right? Mere registration on portals is not a sufficient criteria for formalization. Mere registration on portals is not a criteria. Allow them to prosper through capital injection, through better skills of the persons working. It's a good one, insightful. Scaling up the higher education in India. All right, so a body has been formed which is called as Higher Education Commission of India, right? So editorial says that this body is the one which should be a self-encompassing body. It should be able to self-regulate higher education in a country like India. For example, not only for formation of syllabus, but looking at the right of the stakeholders, primarily the students. Look at MCI, Medical Council of India, right? Similarly, you can translate this thought to HECI, Higher Education Council of India as well. Medical Council of India earlier, it would look at the interest of the doctors, it would approve or certify the doctors. Similarly, there is a need for HECI in a country like India. Let us widen the horizon of understanding of HECI. This should be a separate heading for your social issues or education sector, right? So while we speak of higher education, there should be school education as well. There should be teachers training also. You should have a deck for each of them. Higher education is important in a country like India, primarily because we presently have around 25% of the eligible people in the age who are completing higher education. We are talking of college education. People in the eligible age 18 to 23, 24, that is the eligible age in which people must complete their graduation. Now, in this age, there are only 25% Indians who are able to fulfill the completion of graduation, and this number is supposed to increase in the coming times. So, this council is why is it going to increase? It is going to increase because we will have better awareness amongst people, better educational facilities, right? More number of living years, and people will understand the value of education. They will get into doing graduation, and that is the reason that we need the Higher Education Commission of India, which is able to self-regulate the bodies, the colleges, administer them to ensure that there is a quality education being provided by them, their funding, right? Management, all of them, just like we have Press Council of India, right? So this is the line on which this editorial speaks about. All right, so self-contained in order to be accountable. This is the tone. All right. Now, if you like this initiative, do share some love through likes, comments, and share. इसमें कमी नहीं होनी चाहिए. There must be full liking, full sharing, because we also dedicate ourselves completely to be able to help you. Right? Remember a deck: analysis, data, example, keyword, and case and keywords. If you do this for the articles that you study, anything that you grasp, you will definitely be on the verge of qualifying an exam like civil service examination, because these are pointed things towards every articles. And this is what the question, this is how the question comes like. I give you quite some time for you to get back to me on my questions, but UPSC won't give you time. It will give you 6 minutes to 7 minutes to answer the complete question in 2 to 3 pages. In that you have to think, you have to organize, you have to present everything. This is the preparation. This is the preparation. You burn the midnight oil, you take the daily toil of the blood, sweat, tears, and then you see the result itself. And it will start showing up. It is showing up for many people who are participating here, right? So people visiting offline as well, please try to answer the questions. All right. So is there a question here? Let me see. Pooja says, what is the aim of preparation of vaccine to us? The aim of preparation of vaccine, Pooja, is very, very critical. This is going to serve humanity, the cause of humanity. If vaccine would not have been manufactured and not accelerated the whole preparation time, had it been manufactured in 5 years from now, we would have had so many deaths, many other deaths also. Already we have seen that the government says around 6 lakh deaths happened last year because of COVID, and this is the formal number. But when we look at actual registration of people and then interviews, the speculation is that this number is at least 6 to 7 times more than this, right? So around 40 lakh people died because of COVID, and this is because of the time we didn't have vaccination. Vaccination had only begun during this time. It had begun last year, last year in January, or this year in January, right? It had become only, it was available to us only lately. But if it was not available to us, then more people would have died, right? The Delta variant would not have even mutated itself. It is very much probable. Many of us were injected with vaccination. That is the reason that it also had to mutate to survive. So that is the reason that we needed the aim to prepare vaccination for the whole world. All right. So around 3,000, absolutely correct, Netra. This is the population, 3,000 plus. And what have you written when you say 51? All right. Moving to the case study. Today's case study is on the urban lifestyle in urban India. This lady, Madhuri, she has adopted a new way of kitchening gardening that is called as MAD garden. Madhuri's garden, kitchen garden, 2 floor of kitchen gardening over her rooftop, and she's able to have multiple kind of vegetables, nutritional food items grown at her home. 500 plants, and she also tells people ways in which this can be completely herbal and natural. So this is a very good case study of people like us making wonders, doing wonders at our own home, right? Madhuri here, and not anybody else, but just reflecting what we also can be, right? And she presents this through YouTube videos also. This gives her more passion to be able to continue her journey. A lot of people are followers. So she has 5 lakh subscribers, something far more than what Edukemy has right now. Imagine, whole institution running, and she is overpowering this kind of strength. So yes, people, there's a very popular phrase, I try to use it as often as possible. One man or one person is a majority. One person is a majority. Madhuri has shown that. Today's quote is, agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will be, in the end, it will contribute to real wealth, good morals and happiness. Agriculture, right? You ought to change this, change agriculture and put honesty. You change honesty and put dedication. Once you know the phrases, you will be able to play with them. This is the point I'm making. So these are the gems you can collect, all free of cost for all of you, right? So we get over with the current affairs video. We'll quickly switch over to the video on the feature news, that is on Use Global Gateway, right? Very interesting one. We will meet you in that video. Thank you for participating and being a part. We will see you there quickly. Do prepare ADEC notes, and today is a Friday. We will again meet on Monday evening, right? Thank you for watching. See you in the next video right now. Pooja, take a note. Thank you. 51 number of tiger reserves she is mentioned. That is absolutely correct.